Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys could join us once again. For those tuning in on the simulcast on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad you all can be with us. Going to bring in our friends over on IG. And last but certainly not least, going to connect with our friends over on Amazon Live. Have a very special guest that's gearing up for her brand new release on October 21st. I'm really excited about it. You guys can be able to go ahead and pre-order it for yourself today. And also, we'll let you know how to stay connected with her to be able to keep it updated with all the events as well. And we're now live on the Amazon Live platform with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on Amazon, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button, either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the new book by best-selling author Olivie Blake. It's called Girl Dinner. You can see I have the hardcover here. You guys can be able to get it on October the 21st. We're going to talk to Olivie not only about her extraordinary career, but also about this brand new book, what it's been like for her to already see the response to it. Of course, we'll let you guys know how to stay connected with her as well. Olivie, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Look, the pleasure is definitely all mine. So the time has arrived. You know, the audience is just about to be able to get this book. People are already buzzing about it, Olivie. What has it been like for you to see the early response to Girl Dinner?
Honestly, I've tried to avoid it, but I just don't think it's very good for me to know whether people love things or hate things, right? It's almost it almost is not relevant to the artistic process, but it has been really exciting to see the blurbs that have come in from other authors and stuff like that. I mean, it's definitely great that people are enjoying it. That means so much to me. I definitely heard a lot of people say, a lot of women specifically say that they relate a lot to the first chapter, so I'll take it.
Got you. Well, I thought it was so interesting, and I was thankful to get an early copy of it, Olivie. What I think is so interesting, and I think men and women will appreciate this too, about the idea, especially when it comes to the main character, Nina, the idea of belonging, right? And not feeling like you have to be with a certain group or fit into a certain space for you to recognize your worth. And we kind of see Nina kind of go through that journey. What has that been like for you as an author, as you've been able to see from book to book your audience kind of go along with you? What has that been like for you to be able to show them who you are and be able to embrace that power you have as a writer?
Yeah, I mean, that's been incredibly rewarding. I like to think of a book as sort of like the communion between me and the audience, that it's not just the story as I intended it, and it's not just the story as the audience interprets it, but a little bit of both. And so to think of, each book, I think a lot of people tell me that I kind of bounce around genre-wise, but to me, I think I'm doing the same thing. It's really not about the genre, but more about the conversation that I'm having with the audience. And I feel very fortunate that I'm able to view my audience as very thoughtful and curious and really along for the ride. That's just amazing.
It's funny you mentioned that, Olivie, because one of the things I did when I was prepping for your segment, I was on your YouTube channel. I wasn't stalking you. I was just got to get a good feel.
It's there. It's there.
Right. And I watched an episode of Olivie Not Writing, right? And you were talking about the different genres. I mean, what has that been like for you to be able to have? I tell people when it comes to the work I do that it's great to play in different sandboxes. Sometimes it's difficult, though, to have to leave one to go to the other. What has that been like for you to know that whether you are writing something like Girl Dinner or something else that may be in a different genre, that you do have readers that are excited about whatever you have coming out?
I mean, I think that genre is more important to the reader. I think genre determines the reader expectations. I would never advise to another writer, like if you're just beginning to write a book, that you decide in advance what the genre is, because I think it's something that it's something that takes shape as you go. Because what I think is important about genre and understanding genre constraints, or, the things, the tools that you have. Like each genre has some really interesting tools. And I like to think that I bring to every book like the best of everything I can. So, if it's something that has literary sensibilities, which I think my work does have, where the sentences are, when I write, I am thinking about the way the sentence feels, the syncopation of the sentence. It's almost like poetry, that's just like, how does it feel while you're reading it? With the world building of fantasy and sci-fi. And to me, like even fantasy and sci-fi have slightly different world building standards, because sci-fi to me is like systemic a little bit more, that you turn the dial up on something and see what happens, like, and project it onward. Whereas fantasy, you can kind of like make your own rules, and you have to have an understanding of those rules when you're working with them. With horror, I think the horror is like, understanding what is horrific and what is your relationship to these things that you can't explain. There's so many wonderful tools with each genre that you can use, that it doesn't make sense to think about what is this genre really until the story is already complete and you can see, like, well, which appetite does this satisfy the best? And so to me, Girl Dinner, it's horrific, it's not gory, so it's like
Yeah.
might not be interpreted by everyone as a horror novel, but it does kind of lean into that feeling of dread. The fact that it's a satire that's built into the satire is the dissonance of what is absurd and what we accept, as what we accept as reality and what is absurd about that, which is
Yeah.
where the satire lives. Like, to me, it's almost closer to a psychological thriller, that you just kind of get this feeling of nausea. Like, I know something's coming. I know it's coming. And what is it? How am I going to feel when I discover firsthand what it is?
I'm always interested, Olivie, when I hear the author talking about their work, because I know for myself as a reader, sometimes we can go into something not really knowing what to expect and then just kind of discovering it with it. I think going back to, as I mentioned with Nina, what I thought was so interesting was that even some of the characters we meet along the way is the idea of what really is important, what really matters. And I think it kind of goes to what you were just saying. And so I want to talk about the world building then when in relation to Girl Dinner. How did the initial idea come to you, Olivie, that this was a story you wanted to tell and have it unfold the way that it did?
So, Girl Dinner really started as the punchline to a joke. It was around the time that the Girl Dinner meme was big, and I had recently watched the Barbie movie, and there were all these sort of, I'm just a girl, and this sort of concept of a universal girlhood. And I was like, wouldn't it be so funny if I wrote a satire about a cannibal sorority and I called it Girl Dinner? And a lot of people were very receptive to this joke, including my editor. And she was like, now you have to write it. So it was it's the product of a lot of thinking I had been doing about where is feminism now. I think we're kind of in a place where there's a question of how the feminist movement can succeed. And I'm also personally very interested in the intersection of femininity, culture, and violence. What does feminine violence look like? At what point have we reached a place of needing or desiring violence? And it was interesting also to approach it with Nina, who's, she's younger, she's 19, she's Gen Z, she's grown up with social media. She, even in her head, equivocates the way that the internet does. She'll be like, well, but this, to the point where it's like, what do you really believe? Right. And then you have Sloan, who's like a tired girl boss. I belong to Sloan's generation. I'm 36. I remember being told that if I just worked really hard and I, got in with the guys, and like it would be fine and everything would work out for me. And that has obviously not been the case. And so, yeah, alongside the question of what does feminine violence look like is the question of what does feminine power look like. And that's kind of the thing that we're working with here, and having the two contrasting perspectives. To pretty much everyone I write is an unreliable narrator. So it's nice to have the contrast to see, like, what are we seeing and reacting to that feels truer.
Love that. Love that. I want to say, and I see you guys coming in there on YouTube as well. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents. We're on Amazon, so you all can be able to go ahead and pre-order Girl Dinner for yourself. Now it's out officially October the 21st. But we're here with best-selling author Olivie Blake today. We're talking with her about her journey that led to Girl Dinner. The last thing I want to ask you about, Olivie, and I noticed this when I was prepping for your segment. I saw it on your Instagram, saw it again on your YouTube channel, is your support of other authors and their support of you. I've heard authors tell me over the years that the writing process can be a solitary one. You kind of by yourself with your words, right? But then when it's out, one of the things you can be able to, and it's interesting how we began this conversation. You talk about you try to stay away from what's being said. But what has it been like for you to be a part of this community that is so supportive of you, but that you also have been able to support?
Oh yeah, well, gosh, I'm a reader. I love reading. And that is what's always fueled. That's the reason that writing is my medium. That's why I enjoy writing as a creative outlet. I think, people always ask me, like, you always talk about what books you're reading and you don't talk about what movies you're watching or whatever. It's like, yeah, because I'm reading books and I haven't seen a movie if it wasn't Frankenweenie or K-pop Demon Hunters, So, no, I mean, that's different. I think it's one thing to read my reviews or to feel like the danger with social media, and especially for me being like relatively public facing, is like reviews are not for me. Reviews are for readers. They're for other readers. They're not for me to build my self-worth on. And that's what I think is sort of dangerous about engaging with them. Everyone should be free to engage with the work in their own way. And that's up to them. And like, please don't tag me in it, like we should all experience the art and take something away from it. That's what makes it art. That's what's beautiful about it. And while I love that there are these thriving bookish social communities that are, things that I would have wanted when I was growing up and reading alone and finishing a book and realizing there's no one to talk to about it. And there's nothing better than a book that completely changes your mindset on something that, like, when I read, I want to be a different person at the end of that book. And I am more than happy to celebrate it, whoever wrote it. I love got so enthusiastic. I lost my earbud. The greatest thing about being a writer, about being an artist, is not the accolades. It's not the New York Times bestselling or whatever, or the reviews. It's getting the opportunity to share space with these other incredibly brilliant thinkers, all these people who are doing just like amazing artistic work and bringing something new to the table. And like, the luckiest I feel is when I get to meet another author who's written this incredible book that changed, the inside of my brain. And I really love that there are communities for people to share that. That is wonderful.
Love that. I know they appreciate you as well. Again, everyone, Olivie Blake has been our guest. Her new book is Girl Dinner. You all can go ahead and pre-order it today, out October the 21st. Olivie, really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's been a crazy, busy whirlwind for you as you're gearing up for the release. How can our audience stay connected with you?
Oh, well, you can find me on olivieblake.com. You can sign up for my newsletter if you want. It's a monthly newsletter. You can find me other places on the internet also as Olivie Blake, but like, I don't love it. I hope to one day flee the internet. So, whatever. You can find me on Instagram, on Tumblr, on Blue Sky. I have an account on Twitter, but I'm not active there. But if you really want to find me, you can find me on my website or any outlet from there.
Love it. Olivie, congratulations to you. Thank you so much for the time. Looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. We thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.